We've reached the final stretch in our journey through Persona 4 Golden. I really appreciate everyone who's taken the time to check out my videos and streams on the run. It means more to me than you could ever know. I don't really have much else to introduce this time, so why don't we get started. In the present, or well, the present when this footage was recorded, sorry it takes me so long to make videos, both Rise and Teddy gain their personas. Now Rise's persona is special, as it allows her to function as support during battle. She will always be a member of the party, functioning as a navigator like Teddy once did. But instead of just giving information, she's able to buff the party, reveal enemy weaknesses, and block fatal damage once per battle, among other things. That might leave you asking, what about Teddy then, since he had been the navigator up to this point? Well, now he's able to join the party in battle. He has access to both ice and physical skills, along with many healing and buffing ones. This makes him rather versatile in how you want to use them. Well, that is if you use him. I won't be, so I don't really have much to say on how effective he is, but he's still a solid choice. Oh, by the way, he has a human body now. Yeah, turns out dying was enough for him to grow one. Who knew it was that easy? After exiting the TV, we have to wait a little bit for the plot to continue on. So for the time being, we'll work on our social skills and social links. Now, since I'm great at this whole YouTube thing, I forgot to record one of my streams, so I don't have any of the relevant footage, so enjoy whatever I decide to put on screen instead. You know, it's been a while since the murders happened. I wonder if... Oh. Huh. That wasn't supposed to happen. Well, someone else has seemingly been murdered using the TV world, and the group is stumped on how that happened. Seemingly able to sense their confusion, Naoto comes up and informs them that the police have a suspect who's confessed. Who's Naoto? Well, it seems I forgot to mention them in my previous videos. He's the previously unnamed boy who had been investigating the case. Right now he's not too relevant, but soon he'll have his time to shine. Things seem to have calmed down for now, until the group checks the Midnight Channel and see a new face taunting them to come after him. The group decides to investigate and find out that the boy is probably the very killer the police found, so they decide to go after him to get the truth out of him. This brings us to Void Quest, Mitsuo's dungeon. The dungeon itself is pretty simple, just make it to the top and... Yeah, of course it's not that simple. See, in order to unlock the door, we need an item we can get from the mini-boss, Killing Hand. You know, sometimes I think the mini-bosses in this game are worse than the bosses. See, this guy's gimmick is that he summons an almighty hand that will spend its turns healing the Killing Hand. So you think, oh, just kill the almighty hand and you're all set, right? Wrong. It'll just summon another one. So you pretty much have to kill them within 2 turns of each other, or the cycle repeats. Thankfully they have a weakness you can exploit, but other than that, you're just going to need to put out a lot of damage to win. I ended up doing my grinding for the main boss here as well to help. After that, in some rather annoying gimmick floors, we reach the boss room once more. With the orb in hand, we can enter, face down the killer. For the boss, I got myself up to level 42 and used the personas Tauti, Santanta, Rakshasa, and Unicorn. When the group enters the room, they find Mitsu arguing with the Shadow while it claims they are nothing. They try to stop it, Shadow transform, goes berserk, yeah, you already know this part, let's get to the fight. In concept, it isn't all that hard a boss. Mitsuo the hero is the 8-bit shell around the true form, Shadow Mitsuo, that we need to defeat. The boss will start by going into his hero form before the party can act. Now, in order to actually damage the boss, you need to destroy the shell and hit the shadow inside. This is easier said than done when taking a few factors into account. 1. He takes 2 turns for every 1 you get. And 2. His moves can inflict you with exhaustion. There's not much you can do about this other than plan your moves well. You might be tempted to try and cure the status with items or Amrita. This fight is one where you're going to need 2 healers. When I went in, Yukiko only had access to media for group healing, which is just not enough to keep up with the damage dealt. So I'd use Diorama on her and you while dealing damage with Kanji and Yosuke, getting extra hits in when possible. Once you get his health down, his shell will break and the shadow will be exposed. The important part here is to wail on him as hard as possible. He will try to rebuild his shell at 25% health intervals unless you do enough damage to him. If you manage it, you only have to do his shell form once, but if you aren't able to, it's not the end of the world. While you're hitting him, he'll be putting up elemental walls. Make sure to pay attention to the type of wall put up. He will begin to spam attacks of that element on the party until it goes down. Other than that, if he gets any of your party with his fear skill, make sure to heal them right away. He has another skill that will instantly kill any of your party inflicted with fear. Oh, and try not to be an idiot like I was. It would help if you didn't miss. Uh-oh. Oh, no. Yeah, I think I'm gonna level up a bit more. Yeah, that one hurt my soul a bit. After that, I grinded up to level 46. I was able to take him down, though I ended up needing to use an SP item on Yu and Yukiko. After beating the boss, Mitsuo continues to deny his shadow, causing it to fade away and him to collapse. The group is a little confused by what just happened, but they decide to continue on anyway and pull him out of the TV. They decide to leave him with the police and are happy to know that the case is closed. I mean, yeah, it's kind of an abrupt ending, and we really didn't get to know Nato all that much, but okay, yeah, obviously that's not where the game ends. The group befriend Nato, who has transferred to Yasogami High. Nato is vital to the group being able to figure out the rest of the plot going forward. Being the holder of the group's brain cells, he's able to point out how King Moron was killed in a completely different way from the other two victims, meaning that his death was probably a copycat killing. Not long after making this theory, someone new appears on the Midnight Channel. He looks familiar. Yeah, Nato purposely goes on TV in order to bait the killer into going after him. It works, which leads us to his dungeon, the secret laboratory. Now, this dungeon can be a little annoying the first time you go through it. So you'll be going through it until you reach the 6th floor and find a locked door requiring a leader card. Okay, so just search the floor, find the card, and wait a minute. Yeah, you need to take that card back to the 4th floor, which unlocks a door with a mini-boss behind it. The mini-boss is pretty simple. It will charge and then attack until it gets its health down low enough, at which point it will stand by for a few turns, then explode. If you have a persona that repels physical, this fight can be really free. Otherwise, just remember that sometimes sacrifices are necessary, and good luck. With the keycard, we can head down to the boss. But first, is that the sound of spamming almighty attacks? That can only mean one thing. It's grinding time. Yeah, we're going back to Void Quest to grind some golden hands. This time we're just getting up to level 55, though. For Persona, I prepared Tauti, Alaroon, Hokuto, Saikun, Thoth, and Genbu. The group enters the boss room, and Nato's just chilling there, being rather annoyed by his crying shadow. The shadow goes on about the usual stuff until saying, "Yeah, I've been playing around with pronouns, but Nato's a girl." Although, depending on who you ask, you could read a certain subtext on her character. Anyway, with that bombshell drop, we begin the fight. Just as a side note, but I think Shadow Nato is my favorite design of all the bosses in the game. Her simple design does a lot in showing her character, and looks very clean. Now, I am of the opinion that Shadow Nato is the easiest boss fight in the entire game. Why? Well, she's got an incredibly simple pattern, and her gimmicks are really easy to work around. For most of the fight, she will just attack with normal attacks. At some point, she'll start using Element 0, which nullifies all resist null repels on your persona. The only other special thing about her fight is her two unique moves, Mute Ray and Galligomize. Neither is impossible to deal with, just make sure to keep up on healing and curing status conditions. Like the last battle, I had Yu and Yukiko act as healers, with Kanji and Yosuke dealing damage. By the way, in case you didn't know, stat boost plus charging in these games allows you to do some stupid damage. At this level, you should have access to at least one of the charging moves, so take advantage of it. But yeah, keep it up and she should go down in no time. The boss defeated, Naoto ends up accepting herself and gaining her persona, Sukuna Hikona. Naoto is a versatile character who can be built in almost any way you want her. I'll be flashing her learnable skills on screen, and yeah, it's a lot. By the way, I usually use her by having her keep her base learn set minus the insta-kill skills, and having her learn Shield of Justice when she unlocks it. If it wasn't obvious, she'll be replacing Yosuke. With that, the group leaves the TV and lets her rest. When we return home, Dojima and Adachi are there. Dojima reminds us to stay away from the case and just be a normal student. So we do just that for the next little while. Okay, so a lot of what I'm gonna call slice of life style stuff happens until the next major plot point. The group gets the checkup, performs a musical number, and hangs out at the school festival. The boys cross-dress, and the girls put on a show. Yes, that's her teacher up there with them as well. No, I don't understand how she got or keeps this job either. Some shenanigans happen at Yukiko's Inn because the boys aren't ever able to win. Although, I mean, to be fair, they kinda had it coming. Yeah, it feels like they just had a lot of minor things they wanted to happen and just ran out of places to put them since the plot really picks up from here. A second threatening letter arrives at Dojima's house for Yu, but this time Dojima sees it, and everything comes to a head. So he takes Yu down to the police station to get the whole truth out of him. Unfortunately for us, even if he tells him the truth, he sounds insane, and Dojima doesn't believe him. With not much left to do, Yu checks the Midnight Channel, and Oh, that ain't good. Everyone else sees this and hears about you being taken in, so they decide to act. But by the time they reach Dojima's house, it's too late and Nanako's been kidnapped. The group rushes down to the station to inform him and Dojima of what's happened, and everyone springs into an action. A lot happens next, but to keep a long story short, they figure out the killer has to be a delivery driver. Dojima tracks him down, then runs him off the road, seriously injuring himself in the process, letting the killer escape into the TV world with Nanako in tow. The group find out that the killer is Namatame, the disgraced councilman all the way from the beginning of the game. After visiting Dojima in the hospital and promising to save Nanako, we head off into the TV world. Thankfully, this time there's no need to investigate, although Teddy does mention the TV world feeling weird. I'm sure there's nothing to worry about there. So we go to the dungeon, Heaven, and make our way through. It's a straightforward path to the boss, only having to deal with one mini-boss directly on the way. The mini-boss isn't anything special, just targeting the weaknesses of your party, so it shouldn't be too hard to deal with. Now, before challenging the boss, I did some serious grinding. I got myself up to level 66. At this point in the game, there's a really good grinding spot you're going to want to go to. If you go to Naoto's dungeon and head to the 6th floor, you'll notice that it has a set layout. What you want to do is come down from the 5th floor and then head left. You'll notice that 3 shadows spawn relatively close together at an intersection. Just check to see if one of them is a golden hand. If not, you can quickly change floors and come back. Grinding goes a lot faster here, especially since the golden hands can spawn in groups of 4, giving a lot of XP. For personas, I got Kukolahan, Raphael, Hokuto Saiken, Fortuna, Succubus, Kenki, and Tawu. On to Namatame. When you enter the boss room, you see him holding Nanako. He starts to ramble on about saving people and how the TV world is a safe place. The group gets Nanako away from him, enraging him. This causes Namatame to transform into his boss form, Kunino Sagari. The boss can seem a little intimidating at first, but he isn't all that bad once you get his pattern down. He starts off by using high damage versions of the elemental attacks randomly. In this phase, I recommend using a persona that repels an element, in my case Kukolahan, since he will do big damage to himself if he ends up hitting you with a repelled attack. Although he is able to use a skill that removes affinities of your persona temporarily, so be careful. Take down a third of his health, and he will change it up to randomly buffing one element while weakening the others. He will go on to spam that element until the buff ends. It's important to note that this buff also works in your favor, as he will take massive damage from that element. So I ended up using both Naoto's skill to reflect magical attacks and magic mirrors on all my party. This ended the phase rather quickly. After getting another third down, he gets to the last and most dangerous phase. He will control the rest of your party and cause them to attack you, although sometimes they won't attack. All I can say is that you should use a persona that resists physical attacks and just lay on as much damage as you can. Hopefully you brought him down more than you needed for the phase trigger and didn't buff your party members beforehand. With him defeated, we're able to get Nanako out of the TV and turn him into the police. Unfortunately, Nanako couldn't handle the TV world all that well, now is in critical condition in the hospital. There's not much to be done, so we just pass the time by advancing social links and making sure to be a good brother, until we get a call that Nanako has suddenly gotten worse. So, Dojima calmly goes to have a polite discussion with Namatame.
許可がなければ許可だならあいつは誰の許可で七子を殺したんだふざけんじゃねえぞ
The police stop him and go to return him to his hospital room, leaving the door unguarded. The group then enter and confront Namatame. It's important to note that at this point, the endings of the game start to diverge. When the group go in and talk to him, you have to be careful about your dialogue choices, otherwise you get the bad ending. See, it turns out Namatame isn't the killer we're looking for. I mean, yeah, he threw people into the TVs, but he thought he was saving people by doing that. He also wasn't the one who committed the first 2 murders either. This leaves us back at square one for suspects, but I mean, hey, we didn't murder an innocent person. After that shocking revelation, we get some good news. Nanako came back to life. Yeah, it's not really explained how it happens, besides that Teddy did something. Oh yeah, Teddy's missing now too. Well, we go back to an empty house and fall asleep, only to find ourselves in the Velvet Room. Igor gives us a little speech about our journey almost being over, and we wake up. The group discusses the case a bit more and then goes to question Namatame one more time. One investigation segment around the town later, we end up in Ayaya and get everything summarized for us. Now, the game lets us choose from pretty much every named character to pick the killer. Side note, but I love that the game does this. It really adds to the vibe that you're solving a mystery. You can also mess this up. You only have 3 chances to pick the correct killer before you get the bad ending. Anyway, we pick the correct killer, Adachi, and the group goes to confront him at the hospital. We have a polite conversation with him, and he runs off into the TV. That leaves us having to chase him down. Yu heads home for the night and ends up in the Velvet Room talking to Teddy this time. Turns out he's a shadow that awakened to human emotions, which isn't all that surprising all things considered. Now, when you go to confront Adachi is important, since once you do, time will skip forward and you'll lose a lot of days. So after finishing up on some social links, we head after him. The group struggles to find him until Teddy comes along and saves the day, and we head back to the reporter's room from the beginning of the game. We find him there, and he gives us his best evil monologue on the still unclear parts of the story. After which, he creates a portal to the dungeon where he's hiding, Magasu Inaba. Before tackling it, though, I make sure to head back to Naoto's dungeon and grind up to level 79. Hopefully making this the last time I have to grind. Hopefully. I ended up using Raphael and Kukuliham for most of this dungeon. I did have others on me, but they ended up being not as necessary. Even as the last regular dungeon in the game, it's pretty easy. However, it does have a nasty trick it plays on you when you get to the second floor. The exits of the floor will be locked and the entrance will disappear. Escape items won't work either. In order to progress, you need to interact with this weird looking part of the map and beat the mini-bosses on the sub-floors it leads to. Chaos Fuzz, the first sub-boss, is honestly so easy I don't really have anything to say about him. Envious Giant is a lot tougher, however. It spams Megidolon and can confuse the party. His weakness is physical damage, but he also has high counter since the devs hate you. I really didn't go in with any strategy, I just kept hitting him with almighty skills until he stopped moving. At least with the Adachi fight, which, to be honest, isn't all that bad. Just make sure to take care of anyone who gets speared since he has Ghastly Whale. Man, that sure was an underwhelming final boss. I mean, he didn't even get to kill God. Oh, yeah, that was just part 1. Part 2, and the real final boss, is Amino Sagiri, who we get to fight right after Adachi, without getting a chance to heal SP or HP, so I hope you still have plenty left. This guy is a little tougher, so you want to go in with the strategy. They start out the fight by using high damage elemental attacks until getting down to about 1/4 of its health, at which point he'll start to use strong, almighty, and physical skills. Throughout the fight, I had Yu and Yukiko acting as healers, with Kanji and Nato as damage dealers. I was going to use just Yukiko for healing since she had Salvation, which fully heals HP and cures status conditions, but I realized I would have quickly run out of SP had I done that. You might be able to pull it off if you have a lot of SP restoring items, but I was running pretty low at that point, so I had to change strategies. So instead, I had Yukiko heal until her SP got lower and then switch to Yu. I also recommend that you keep buffs for yourself up, they become a lifesaver in this fight. Thankfully at this point I had maxed Rise's social link, so she was buffing me like every 3 turns. After reducing the boss's health further, it will use Bewildering Fog. This move has them hiding for 2 turns while buffing itself, and remember, this guy gets 2 turns for every 1 you get. So when this would happen, I would use the first turn to heal/buff my party, then after I would guard, because otherwise when it attacked it would probably kill me. As long as you've been paying attention, you should be able to beat it, although be warned, this fight isn't going to be short. With our quota met for god killing, the group takes Adachi out of the TV and back into the real world in order to face justice for his crimes. Back in the real world, Naniko's health has recovered enough for her and Dojima to come home for Christmas. Afterwards, Yu checks the Midnight Channel one more time to see that nothing is on. With the case closed, the group can now just enjoy the time they have with each other until Yu leaves. So we go around and do one more hangout with each party member to unlock their ultimate personas. Then White Day comes around and...
もうできちゃったって言ったら、お兄ちゃんはどんなのでも美味しく食べてくれるって。
Well, she is right about that.
あのね、お兄ちゃんありがとう。大好き。
You have no options.
お兄ちゃん、どうしたの？お兄ちゃん。
Well, she means well at least. A few days later, Mari comes to him in a dream and tells him goodbye. This causes him to collapse and have his friends have to take care of him. After he recovers, the gang goes on a ski trip, and before you know it, we're at the end of the game. We go to say goodbye to everyone before leaving. You know, I had a lot of fun with this run. It was nice to play the game and, huh? What's that? I've forgotten something? Well, I guess I could just go to Junes one more time. Yeah, in order to get the true ending, you somehow have to figure out that you need to go to Junes after you're done saying goodbye to everyone. I don't know how they were expecting you to figure this out besides just interacting with everything in town, but here we are. Well, the group has one last meeting and figures that something doesn't feel right, so they decide to do one more investigation. Oh joy. Just talk to everyone in town, then Dojima and Nanako before heading to the Velvet Room. You'll get a key item before it's time to confront the mastermind behind it all, the gas station attendant? Yeah, it turns out they were actually Izanami, and they were the ones who gave Yu, Adachi, and Namatame their powers. They end up getting away, and we have to go back into the TV one more time. Mise finds the last dungeon, Yomosu Hirosaka, and we go to confront Izanami. This dungeon doesn't have any fancy tricks, just make it to the top while defeating the sub-bosses along the way. Neither one of them really has much special to them. I just ended up treating them like normal enemies and didn't have too hard of a time. I guess it's to the boss herself, Izanami. Now, I hadn't done any leveling up since the last boss, since I wanted to see if I could beat her without it. Here's how that went. No, I don't think I will, Izanami. Yeah, so needless to say, I went back to Naoto's dungeon one more time and grinded up to level 90. I also ended up using most of the same personas as before. Going in, you need to know that you're gonna be here for a while. I looked back at the footage and it took me about 50 minutes to beat her, cutscenes included. That being said, my strategy was pretty much the same I had been using up to that point. You and Yukiko on healing with Kanji and Naoto to deal with damage. You will be healing every turn because Izanami puts out some stupid damage, so make sure you either manage your SP wisely or have plenty of items to restore it. The first form isn't too bad to deal with and won't take long to take down. Relatively. Like I said before, buffs debuffs are your friends, and having Rize's social link, Max, can be a lifesaver. This leads us on to the second form, Izanami no Okami, and oh boy is she something. To start, she attacks twice a turn and has over double the health of her previous form. Add on top of this a litany of new and dangerous moves, and you're in for trouble. She also does this fun thing where she has a chance to inflict status with multiple of her attacks, and then is able to insta-kill you if you have any. There were multiple times throughout the fight where I almost died and only got saved by her being merciful with her move choice. All you can do is just keep attacking her until you get her health down low enough for her to do this. Oh yeah, this. I was so scared that I had messed up somehow, but yeah, let the cutscene play out, summon Izanagi no Okami, click Myriad Truths, and bask in your victory. With all that said and done, Izanami restores the TV world back to how it once was and disappears, meaning the fog will no longer be a threat to anyone. Tei decides that he'll protect the TV world, while still coming by the real world, and Yu leaves Inaba satisfied in the knowledge that they had completely solved the case. Right? Yeah, I mean, I totally didn't forget about anyone or anything. Look, I plan on doing the Hollow Forest, it's just I really didn't want to do it twice if I could avoid it, so I plan on saving it for New Game Plus. Yeah, remember how this is a 100% run? Well, with this game file prepared, I can finally go through and finish up the achievements that I could only get on a New Game Plus save file. I was planning on doing it right after the first run through, but to be honest, I was feeling a bit burned out on Persona 4. So here's the deal. Right now I'm doing a 100% playthrough of Persona 3 Reload on Merciless over on my Twitch. Once that's done, since that game only needs one playthrough to fully complete, I plan on coming back to this game to take care of my unfinished business. Till then, you'll just have to wait, but I do promise to post some YouTube exclusive content in the meantime, along with the Persona 3 run after that's done. With all that being said, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you again soon.